You have slides. All right, so I realize I'm standing between you and the brick, so we'll try not to take too long, but I wanted to take a few minutes to sort of tell you about what we are doing and why we are doing this. How do I advance? How do I advance the slide? Oh, here. Okay, so what is natural history study? Well, it's an observational study that is longitudinal, so we want to see the same participant, same patient every year, once a year, and we conduct this over many, many years. So the idea is to get long-term data that pharmaceutical companies and other investigators can use for future therapeutic development. The idea behind the natural history study is that we collect our data prospectively. So every time you come in, we will ask you some new questions, and you do not have to rack your brains and say, well, what happened 5 years ago or 10 years ago? Now, there will be some component of it that's retrospective, and we will ask you about some historical data. But once you have been in once for your baseline visit, we will be able to collect data prospectively. The other difference between a natural history study and other types of studies is that you come in and you see the same investigator at each visit, and we know that there are a lot of assessments for which there is some variability between different investigators, between how you assess them. There's inter-rater issues, so it helps to minimize variability in data collection. The natural history study complements the patient registry that you heard about this morning. It's a completely different study. It serves a different purpose. And it is absolutely critical for drug development. I'm going to show you over here some quotations from participants in a recent symposium organized by the FDA on issues pertaining to drug development in rare disorders. So it has been said that the natural history study is important because it allows us to know what the natural cause of the disease is, and therefore you know what is a side effect and what isn't a side effect when a compound is being tested in a clinical trial. It also helps us develop endpoints for clinical trials. And the important thing is that this is rigorous, it's protocol driven, and it generates a kind of data that you can then use in drug development. So the other reason to participate in the natural history study, I would like to encourage all of you to participate in this natural history study because you actually help us learn about Angelman syndrome. It is only through having networks of investigators in the natural history study that we can build expertise among clinicians in Angelman syndrome, and that's absolutely critical when it comes to running clinical trials because you want experts to be running clinical trials. It allows us to build infrastructures. Once we have the natural history sites up and running, it will be much easier and much quicker to launch clinical trials. The other important thing is that you actually teach us about Angelman syndrome. I've personally learned a ton from just seeing patients in the natural history study, and I'm sure you will continue to educate all of us. All physicians learn from their patients, and this is no different. So we have learned about things about Angelman syndrome that until we started this study, we really knew nothing about. The other question that has come up is, well, why do you need a natural history study? Drug trials have control groups. Well, you actually do need this because control groups in clinical trials are necessarily homogeneous, meaning you isolate them and you study a very small subset of patients. They all have to fit certain criteria. You have to, for example, have very well-controlled seizures before you can go into a clinical trial, whereas in a natural history study, we take all comers. So you get a much better representation of Angelman syndrome. The other issue is that clinical trials are short-term now. Some of you may have heard that there are a lot of exciting clinical trials coming down the pike. And the question is there still a need for a natural history study once we have these trials? And the simple answer is yes, absolutely. Because once you give someone a treatment, if you give someone an ASO therapy, a gene therapy, you want to know what's going to happen down the road. So you want to know what the history of that subject is after he or she has received the drug therapy. So natural history studies are important for baseline data. They are even more important once someone has received a disease-modifying therapy. So the natural history study was started really in 2006, funded by the NIH, and we enrolled a number of patients through all the study sites. This was led by Dr. Lindbergh in San Diego, and we had this for 8 years until we ran out of funding initially. So as I've said before, we went through prospective and retrospective data collection, in-person visit once a year, and we enrolled all Angelman subjects as long as you have a molecular diagnosis. And we managed to enroll over a period of 8 years, 302 children and adults with Angelman syndrome. These were some of the papers that we generated and the data that we generated from this study. We showed, for example, that in young children, not everyone has the cardinal features of Angelman syndrome. So absence of seizures, absence of easily provoked laughter, for example, fascination with water, that does not preclude the diagnosis of Angelman syndrome. We also showed some correlation between the different subtypes of Angelman syndrome and their development, which is, again, not surprising. And you saw this graph earlier with Dr. Due's presentation. We also looked at behavior. Now, the advantage of having a longitudinal natural history study is not only can you look at baseline prevalence of different behaviors, you can also look at how behavior and changes over time. This is something that you can't do in any other setting apart from a natural history study, and you can see, for example, anxiety increases over time, and it differs according to the molecular subtype. You can also see that certain types of aggressive behavior increase over time. So again, you can see that this is one of the reasons you need to do natural history studies like these. There's been a lot of talk about using EEG as a biomarker. So we have published a series of papers in collaboration both with industry and other academic groups to look at the utility of EEGs. And we are also interested in the psychosocial impact. What does it cost? What's the stress level in children and families when you have a child with Angelman syndrome? And how can we help you given that stress? What's the burden? These are baseline data, and we are working on papers looking at long-term burden, long-term stresses, parental stresses in this population. Natural history study also allows us to examine and come across children whom we may not have thought of as having Angelman syndrome. So we saw 2 children who were able to walk on their own, had phrase speech, spoke really well, and I would never have thought they had Angelman syndrome until they came to the study and showed us they actually did. So I think it allows us to see the full spectrum of what Angelman syndrome really is, rather than what the textbooks tell us. So we have several papers that are currently in progress using the data that we have collected thus far. And these are some papers. And by the way, I'm happy to share these slides with anyone who is interested later on. But there are challenges. You can see that out of the 300 subjects we enrolled, only 4% were over the age of 18 at the time of enrollment. Now, this is a problem because we don't understand adults. And you have heard this morning that we know much more about children than adults. So to all of you who have adults with Angelman syndrome in your household, in your family, please send them to us. We really want to see adults in our natural history study. We really need to understand them. The other problem is attrition. So patients come in, you come in for 1 or 2 visits, and then people drop out. We don't have the longitudinal data. We know it's a burden, we know it's a lot of work, and we truly appreciate your efforts coming to a site to see us for the study. But we need this. As a community, we need to have long-term data, and we cannot get long-term data unless you're willing to come back to see us every year. So we had faced other challenges. We know that we are enrolling only a very small proportion. Where are the other folks? Where are the other children, adults with Angelman syndrome? We realized in our old study that we were not assessing communication skills as well, and we were not capturing use of AAC devices. We did not have a formal measure to measure anxiety. and we were using the Bailey scales, which underestimates ability. And we also realized that when you put children and adults in an unfamiliar environment, a hospital environment, they do not perform as well. So we were given the opportunity by the FDA in 2017 to relaunch the natural history study, and we took all these considerations, all these limitations into consideration. And what we did to improve the study was we engaged with all the Angelman syndrome clinics, and we asked all the stakeholders, what would you like to see? This is our opportunity to reframe the study, to relaunch this, to make it better, to make it more relevant. What can we do to help you, help everyone get there? So we talked to industry, we talked to the foundations, the support groups, and we decided we needed to have standardized measures for communication anxiety. We standardized the administration of the Bailey scales. Hopefully it will make it more relevant. We introduced an online portal. So now instead of answering all the questions in person, you can answer some of the questions online once you have enrolled in the study. And this question was raised earlier, can you do telemedicine? Well, for the first visit, we do need to see you at baseline. But if you really can't come to the site, any data is better than no data, and we'll allow you to do a phone visit. But we really would like to actively encourage all of you to come back whenever possible. It may be a 2-year gap, and that's all right. But whenever you can come back to see us, please come back, because there are assessments that we cannot do through the telephone, that we need to examine. And you heard Dr. Nespelka say earlier, physical examination cannot be done through telemedicine. The other innovation we have introduced is use of home video. So we say, well, okay, so your kids and children are not performing as well in a hospital setting. What can we do to help you? Well, what we can do is to have you take video clips of what they are capable of doing in their home environment. Show it to us, and we'll assess them through the home videos. So this is currently a pilot project that we are starting in Boston, and we'll roll it out to the other sites. So these are the current sites in the natural history study, and so we have started with San Diego and Boston. Chapel Hill just got approved in UNC, and other sites will come along very soon. So finally, I just want to thank everyone who has made this possible, both the investigators who worked very hard, and of course all of you who have participated in this study, as well as our sponsors. Whoops. Okay, and happy to take any questions. I will be here. And finally, I just want to introduce my team. So Catherine Merton is the study coordinator. Dr. Satwani is a lead psychologist. I want to invite them up to the stage so that you can put a name to a face. They are all going to be around. So this is Catherine. And this is Dr. Satwani here, who is our lead psychologist. Please come and talk to us. We have a booth out there, and we'll be around through the end of the conference. Thank you.
The only other thing I want to add, I know we've heard that, first of all, we are very thankful to all the families who've come in and participated. Without your participation, we would not have been able to do this. We realize this is a lot of time and burden commitment to travel. We are actually doing the natural history study on site here. So if anyone's interested, we're looking for a 2-hour commitment. So we have a few slots today afternoon and tomorrow afternoon. So if anyone's interested, our booth is right there, and we're welcome to have you enroll here and do the study here if you're interested.
Any questions before we break? Great. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.